Story 1. 3 years ago, I inherited my grandmother's house from my dad's side. It's a modest two-bedroom place that sits on about half an acre, and the best part? It's just outside the boundaries of Willowbrook Estates, one of those fancy planned communities with perfectly manicured lawns and houses that all look like they came from the same catalog. My grandmother had been a bit of a rebel in her later years. After my grandfather passed, she started decorating her front yard with garden gnomes, colorful flowers, and whatever made her happy. When I moved in, I decided to keep her quirky garden as a way to honor her memory. I even added a few more gnomes and planted some bright orange marigolds and purple petunias. The trouble started about 6 months ago when a new family moved into the house directly across from mine, which happened to be inside the Willowbrook Estates boundary. I noticed the woman staring at my yard from her front window pretty regularly, but I figured she was just curious about the neighborhood. That changed on a Tuesday morning in April. I was watering my flowers when this woman marched across the street like she was on a mission. "Karen, excuse me, are you the homeowner here?" "Me, yes, can I help you?" "Karen, I'm the president of the Willowbrook Estates Homeowners Association, and your yard is in direct violation of our community standards." I looked around, confused. "Me, I'm sorry, but I don't live in your community. My property line ends right there at that fence post." I pointed to the clearly marked boundary that separated my property from the housing development. "Karen, that doesn't matter. Your tacky display is visible from our neighborhood, and it's bringing down our property values. Those ridiculous lawn ornaments need to go, and those garish flower colors are completely inappropriate." "Me, ma'am, I appreciate your concern, but I'm not part of your homeowners association. I can decorate my own property however I want." "Karen, we'll see about that." She stormed off, and I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Over the next few weeks, she kept showing up with printed copies of the Homeowners Association rules, trying to convince me that somehow I was subject to their regulations. She'd wave these papers around and quote sections about appropriate landscaping and community aesthetics. "Karen, Section 4.2 clearly states that lawn ornaments must be tasteful and limited to seasonal decorations only." "Me, for the 100th time, I'm not in your homeowners association. These rules don't apply to me." "Karen, you're being deliberately difficult. I'm reporting this to the board." "Me, go ahead. They'll tell you the same thing I'm telling you." Things escalated when she started leaving nasty notes in my mailbox. Then she began taking photos of my yard from the sidewalk. I installed a security camera after she started showing up at weird hours, just documenting everything. The breaking point came on a Saturday morning 3 weeks ago. I was inside having coffee when my security camera sent an alert to my phone. I looked at the footage and couldn't believe what I was seeing. This woman had walked onto my property and was actually picking up my garden gnomes and stuffing them into a garbage bag. I ran outside and caught her red-handed with 5 of my grandmother's gnomes in her bag. "Me, what the hell do you think you're doing?" "Karen, these violations have gone on long enough. Since you refuse to comply with community standards, I'm removing these eyesores myself." "Me, put those down right now. You're trespassing on my property." "Karen, I'm doing what's best for the neighborhood. Someone has to maintain standards around here." She had the nerve to keep shoving gnomes into her bag while arguing with me. That's when I called the police. "Me, I need officers at my address. Someone is trespassing on my property and stealing my lawn decorations." "Karen, you can't call the police on me. I'm the Homeowners Association president." "Me, watch me." When the officers arrived, I showed them the security footage of her entering my property without permission and taking my belongings. She tried to explain to them about homeowners association violations, but they weren't having it. "Officer, ma'am, do you live at this address?" "Karen, no, but I'm the president of." "Officer, are you authorized to be on this property?" "Karen, well, no, but these violations." "Officer, then you're trespassing." They arrested her for trespassing and theft. She was absolutely furious, screaming about property values and community standards as they put her in the car. But here's the best part. 2 days later, I got a knock on my door from a man who introduced himself as the Vice President of the Willowbrook Estates Board. Vice President, I wanted to apologize for our former president's behavior. The board has reviewed the situation, and we're mortified by what happened. Me, former president? Vice President, she's been removed from her position. Additionally, she's being fined by our own homeowners association for creating a neighborhood disturbance and bringing negative attention to our community. Apparently, several residents had complained about her obsessive behavior regarding my yard, and the arrest was the final straw. The board voted her out and hit her with a hefty fine for violating their own rules about maintaining harmonious neighborhood relations. The criminal charges stuck too. She had to pay restitution for the damaged gnomes she'd crammed into that bag, plus court costs and fines. She also got a restraining order that prevents her from coming within 100 feet of my property. I replaced the broken gnomes and added a few more for good measure. My grandmother would have gotten a kick out of the whole situation. Sometimes standing your ground pays off, especially when entitled people think rules apply to everyone except them. The new Homeowners Association president seems much more reasonable. He actually complimented my garden when he came by to apologize. Turns out most of the neighbors in Willowbrook Estates think my yard is charming and never had a problem with it in the first place. The woman ended up selling her house and moving away about a month after the incident. I heard through the neighborhood gossip that she couldn't handle the embarrassment of being arrested and fined by her own homeowners association. My garden gnomes are still standing proud in my front yard, and my flowers are more colorful than ever. Sometimes the best way to deal with entitled people is to let them dig their own graves. Story 2. A little backstory first. I moved to this neighborhood about 6 months ago after getting divorced. It was a fresh start for me and my 3-year-old corgi. The apartment I found has a small dog park right across the street, which was perfect since my dog needs his daily exercise and socialization. I'm a pretty quiet person by nature, and my corgi is honestly one of the most gentle dogs you'll ever meet. He's never shown aggression toward anyone or anything, not even squirrels. I work from home as a freelance graphic designer, so I usually take my dog to the park during my lunch break when it's less crowded. It's become our routine, and most of the other dog owners there are really friendly. We've built a nice little community over the months. Last Tuesday started like any other day. I grabbed my dog's leash around noon and headed to the park. There were about 4 other people there with their dogs, all regulars I recognized. My corgi immediately started playing with a golden retriever he's friends with. Just normal dog stuff, chasing, play wrestling. You know how it is. That's when she showed up. I'd never seen this woman before. She was probably in her 50s, wearing a pristine white tracksuit and carrying a designer purse. She walked right into the middle of the dog area, even though there are clearly marked signs saying it's for dogs and their owners only. She wasn't with a dog. My corgi, being the social butterfly he is, trotted over to say hello. His tail was wagging, and he had that happy corgi smile on his face. Before I could even call him back, the woman started yelling, "Karen, get that vicious beast away from me." Me, I'm sorry, he's just being friendly. He won't hurt you. I walked over to get my dog, but she stepped back dramatically like he was some kind of monster. Karen, that animal is clearly aggressive. Look at how it's baring its teeth at me. I looked down at my corgi. He was panting slightly from playing, which I guess could look like baring teeth if you've never been around dogs before. Me, ma'am, he's just panting. He was playing with the other dogs. He's completely harmless. Karen, don't you dare tell me what I'm seeing. This dog barked at me aggressively and tried to attack me. Here's the thing, my corgi hadn't barked once. Not a single sound. The other dog owners were starting to look over because of her yelling. Me, I think there's been a misunderstanding. My dog hasn't barked at all today. That's when she really lost it. She started kicking gravel from the ground toward my dog, while screaming about how dangerous he was. My poor corgi got scared and finally did bark once before running behind my legs. Karen, there, did you all see that? This vicious animal just attacked me. I'm calling animal control right now. One of the other dog owners, an older man with a beagle, tried to calm her down. Dog owner, ma'am, that dog didn't do anything wrong. You were the one throwing rocks at it. Karen, how dare you? I'm the victim here. This dog has traumatized me, and I demand something be done about it. She pulled out her phone and actually called animal control while standing right there. I couldn't believe what I was hearing as she spoke to them. Karen, yes, I need to report a vicious dog attack at the park on Maple Street. A corgi just attacked me unprovoked. I think I might need medical attention. The owner is refusing to control their dangerous animal. I was stunned. My hands were shaking as I put my dog on his leash. The other dog owners looked just as shocked as I felt. Me, this is insane. You know you're lying, right? Karen, I'll see you in court when I sue you for everything you're worth. Your dog is going to be put down for this. She stormed off, but not before taking pictures of me and my dog with her phone. I went home completely rattled. I'd never dealt with anything like this before. I called my sister, who's a paralegal, and she told me to document everything and maybe get a lawyer if animal control actually followed up. Well, they did follow up. 2 days later, an animal control officer showed up at my door. He was actually pretty nice about it, but he had to investigate the complaint. Officer, I have to ask you some questions about an incident at the dog park on Tuesday. A woman filed a report claiming your dog attacked her. I explained exactly what happened, and he took notes. He asked to see my dog, who immediately rolled over for belly rubs when the officer bent down to pet him. Officer, this is one of the most non-aggressive dogs I've ever met, but I still have to complete the investigation. The complainant is claiming she was injured and traumatized. My heart sank. I asked what would happen next. Officer, well, she's demanding your dog be declared dangerous and removed from your home. She's also talking about pressing charges and filing a lawsuit. I felt sick. This woman was trying to ruin my life over absolutely nothing. But here's where the story gets good. The next day, the same animal control officer called me back. He sounded completely different, almost amused. Officer, well, this is interesting. I went back to interview the other people who were at the park that day, and 3 of them have video footage of the entire incident. Apparently, the other dog owners had been so shocked by the woman's behavior that they'd started recording on their phones. The videos showed everything: my dog approaching her friendly, her yelling and kicking gravel at him, and him barking only after she started throwing things at him. Officer, the footage clearly shows she provoked your dog and then lied about what happened. Your dog showed remarkable restraint, actually. Most dogs would have reacted much worse to having rocks thrown at them. He told me that not only was my dog completely cleared, but the woman was being charged with filing a false police report and animal harassment. Officer, she's looking at a pretty hefty fine, maybe even community service. The videos are pretty damning. I asked if I needed to do anything else. Officer, nope, you're completely in the clear. Though I'd recommend maybe avoiding that park for a few days, just in case she decides to show up again. The best part came a week later. I was at the grocery store when I spotted her in the checkout line ahead of me. She looked miserable, and I heard her on the phone complaining about having to pay a $1,000 fine and do 40 hours of community service at the local animal shelter. I couldn't help but smile a little as I watched her storm out of the store, still ranting into her phone about how unfair everything was. My dog and I are back to our regular routine at the park now. The other dog owners have become even friendlier since the incident. I think we all bonded over the shared experience of dealing with such an unreasonable person. One of them even joked that my corgi should get a medal for staying so calm under pressure. Justice was definitely served, and my faith in the system was restored. Sometimes the good guys really do win. Story 3. I've been working double shifts at the warehouse for the past 3 months, trying to save up enough money to get my own place. Living with my parents at 25 isn't exactly my dream situation, but the rent in this city is brutal. Between work and helping my mom take care of my younger brother who has special needs, I barely get any time for myself. So when my favorite book series finally got adapted into a movie, I decided to treat myself. I'd been following these books since high school, and the author had been involved in the screenplay, so I had high hopes. I bought my ticket online 2 weeks in advance and specifically chose the premium seats, the ones with extra legroom and reclining chairs. Yeah, it cost me an extra $15, but after all those 60-hour work weeks, I figured I deserved it. I got to the theater 30 minutes early because I'm one of those people who likes to get settled and watch all the previews. I grabbed some popcorn and a drink, found my seat row H, seat 12, and got comfortable. The theater was about half full, and I was looking forward to finally relaxing for a couple hours. The lights dimmed and the first preview started rolling. That's when she showed up. This woman came stomping down the aisle with her phone flashlight blazing, talking loudly on a phone call. She was probably in her 40s, wearing a velour tracksuit and carrying one of those oversized purses that could probably fit a small child inside. "Karen, excuse me, you're in my seat." She was standing right next to me, still on her phone call, pointing at my chair like I'd committed some kind of crime. "Me, I'm sorry, but this is seat 12. I have my ticket right here." I pulled out my phone to show her my mobile ticket, but she wasn't having it. "Karen, I don't care what your little phone says. This is my seat. I paid for the premium seating, and I want you to move. Now." The people around us were starting to stare, and I could feel my face getting hot. I hate being the center of attention, especially in situations like this. "Me, look, I'm sure there's been some mistake. Can you show me your ticket? Maybe we can figure this out." "Karen, I shouldn't have to show you anything. You need to get out of my seat before I call security." She was practically yelling now, and the preview was still playing. Other moviegoers were starting to shush her, which only made her more angry. "Karen, don't you shush me. This person stole my seat and nobody cares." "Me, ma'am, I bought this ticket 2 weeks ago. I'm not trying to cause trouble." "Karen, 2 weeks ago. Well, I bought mine 3 weeks ago, so move." That's when one of the theater employees showed up. He was this young guy, probably still in high school, and he looked terrified. "Employee, is everything okay here?" "Karen, no, everything is not okay. This person is in my seat and won't move." "Employee, can I see both of your tickets, please?" I showed him my phone with the digital ticket. The kid squinted at it with his own phone flashlight. "Employee, this shows row H, seat 12 for the 7:30 showing tonight." "Karen, see, I told you it was my seat." She shoved her phone at the employee, and he studied her ticket for what felt like forever. "Employee, ma'am, your ticket is for row H, seat 12, but it's for the 9:45 showing." "Karen, what?" "Employee, you bought a ticket for the later show. This showing started at 7:30. The entire theater seemed to go quiet except for the preview still playing on screen. Karen's face went from angry to confused to even angrier. "Karen, that's impossible. I specifically bought tickets for this time." "Employee, I'm sorry ma'am, but the ticket clearly shows 9:45. The next showing doesn't start for another 2 hours." "Karen, I don't care what it says. I'm here now, and I want to watch the movie now. This seat should be mine." "Employee, I'm going to need to get my manager." "Karen, fine, get your manager. They'll straighten this whole thing out." So we all sat there awkwardly while the kid went to get his boss. Karen remained standing next to my seat, tapping her foot and huffing loudly. The preview ended and another one started, but nobody was paying attention to the screen anymore. The manager showed up a few minutes later. She was this no-nonsense woman in her 30s who looked like she'd dealt with situations like this before. "Manager, what seems to be the problem?" "Karen, your employee is trying to tell me I can't sit in my assigned seat." Manager, can I see your ticket, ma'am? Karen handed over her phone, and the manager examined it carefully. Manager, ma'am, this ticket is for our 9:45 showing. The current show started at 7:30. Karen, I don't care when it started. I'm here now, and there are plenty of empty seats. Just let me watch the movie. Manager, I'm afraid I can't do that. You'll need to either wait for your scheduled showtime, or I can help you exchange your ticket for this showing if there are seats available. Karen, I'm not leaving. I drove 20 minutes to get here. Manager, ma'am, if you don't have a valid ticket for this showing, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm a paying customer. The manager looked around at all the other people staring at us, then back at Karen. Manager, I understand your frustration, but you're disrupting the movie for other guests who do have valid tickets for this showing. Karen, I'm not going anywhere. You can't make me leave. She actually sat down in the empty seat next to me and crossed her arms like a toddler having a tantrum. Manager, ma'am, I'm asking you one more time to please leave voluntarily. Karen, no. That's when the manager pulled out her radio and called security. 2 security guards showed up within minutes, and they were not messing around. Security guard, ma'am, you need to come with us. Karen, I'm not going anywhere. This is America. You can't force me to leave. Security guard, actually, we can. This is private property, and you're trespassing. They didn't physically grab her or anything, but they made it very clear that she was leaving one way or another. Karen finally got up, but not without a final outburst. Karen, this is the worst theater I've ever been to. I'm never coming back. I'm going to leave terrible reviews everywhere. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. As security escorted her out, she was still yelling about her rights and how she was going to sue everyone. The whole theater actually started clapping once she was gone. The manager came back over to me after things settled down. Manager, I am so sorry about that disruption. Here's my card. I'm going to refund your ticket price and give you some complimentary passes for future visits. Me, you don't have to do that. It wasn't your fault. Manager, it's the least I can do. And just so you know, we're banning her from the premises for 30 days for disruptive behavior. She handed me her business card and told me to contact her directly if I had any problems getting the refund processed. Then she made an announcement to the whole theater apologizing for the disruption and saying they'd restart the previews for anyone who missed them. I ended up getting my money back and free movie passes. Plus, I finally got to enjoy the film in peace. The movie was actually pretty good, though not quite as amazing as I'd hoped. But honestly, the entertainment value of watching Karen get escorted out by security was almost worth the price of admission by itself. The best part? When I was leaving the theater, I saw Karen in the parking lot on her phone, probably complaining to someone else about how unfairly she'd been treated. Some people never learn. Story 4. I inherited this apartment building from my grandmother 3 years ago when I was 28. It's a nice little complex with about 40 units and a decent pool area that the tenants love during summer. I've always tried to be a hands-off landlord. I live in one of the units myself and just want everyone to be comfortable and happy. Being plus-sized, I've always been self-conscious about swimming in public. For years, I avoided the pool entirely, even though it was literally in my backyard. But last summer, I decided I was done letting my insecurities control my life. I bought a beautiful full-coverage swimsuit and a matching sarong that made me feel confident and comfortable. The first few times I used the pool, everything went great. My tenants are mostly young professionals and families, and everyone was friendly. A few people even complimented my swimsuit, which boosted my confidence even more. Then she moved in. This woman rented Unit 12B about 2 months ago. From day one, she'd been nothing but complaints. The hallway carpet was too thin, the mailboxes were too small, the parking spaces weren't wide enough. My property manager had warned me about her, but I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Last Tuesday, I decided to take an afternoon swim. It was a gorgeous day, and I had finished all my work early. I grabbed my book and headed down to the pool area, wearing my usual full-coverage swimsuit and sarong. There were a few other people there, a couple of moms with their kids, and an elderly man who always did laps in the morning. Everyone waved hello as I settled into a chair by the shallow end. That's when she appeared. "Karen, excuse me, but this is completely inappropriate." She was standing at the pool gate, pointing directly at me. I looked around confused, thinking maybe someone had broken a rule I wasn't aware of. "I'm sorry, what's inappropriate?" "Karen, your outfit. This is a family pool area, and you're violating community standards with that getup." I looked down at myself. I was wearing more fabric than most people wear to church. My swimsuit covered everything from my shoulders to my knees, and the sarong was wrapped around my waist. "I'm not sure what you mean. This is just a regular swimsuit." "Karen, regular? You're practically naked. There are children here." One of the moms by the kiddie pool looked over with a confused expression. Her daughter was wearing a tiny bikini that showed way more skin than my covered-up outfit. "Karen, I'm calling the leasing office right now. This kind of behavior won't be tolerated in a respectable community." She pulled out her phone and dialed while standing right there, speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Karen? Yes, this is the tenant in 12B. I need to report a serious violation of community standards at the pool. There's a woman here dressed completely inappropriately, and I demand she be removed immediately." The other people at the pool were staring now, clearly uncomfortable with the scene she was making. I felt my face getting hot with embarrassment. "Karen, what do you mean you need to speak to the owner? I'm telling you there's a problem right now." She hung up and glared at me. "Karen, the leasing office is calling the building owner. You'll be banned from this pool by tomorrow, mark my words." Actually, I think there might be some confusion here." "Karen, the only confusion is why someone like you thinks they can dress like that around decent people." That was my breaking point. I stood up and walked over to her. "I think you should know that I am the building owner." Her face went completely pale. "And harassment of other tenants is grounds for lease termination according to the rental agreement you signed." "Karen, you can't be serious. I was just trying to maintain community standards." "By publicly humiliating a tenant for wearing a completely appropriate swimsuit." "I don't think so." I pulled out my phone and called my property manager. "Hi, it's me. I need you to document a tenant harassment incident at the pool today. Unit 12B just spent 10 minutes screaming at me about my swimsuit and called the leasing office trying to get me banned from my own pool." Karen tried to backtrack, but it was too late. "Karen, wait, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I was just concerned about the children." The misunderstanding was thinking you could bully other tenants without consequences." She left the pool area quickly after that, and the other tenants actually applauded once she was gone. The following week, my property manager hand-delivered her 30-day notice to vacate. Turns out this wasn't her first harassment complaint. She'd been bothering other tenants about everything from their cooking smells to their parking. She tried calling me directly to apologize and beg for another chance, but some lines can't be uncrossed. I've worked too hard to create a welcoming community to let one person poison the atmosphere. She moved out quietly last month, and the pool has been peaceful ever since. I swim there almost every day now, and I've never felt more comfortable in my own skin. Story 5. I'm a junior majoring in psychology, and I spend most of my free time in the university library. It's the only place on campus where I can actually focus on my studies without distractions. My roommate plays video games until 3 a.m., and the student center is always packed with people having loud conversations. Yesterday was a typical Tuesday afternoon. I had claimed my usual spot on the third floor of the library, a corner table near the psychology section where hardly anyone goes. I had my organic chemistry textbook open, my notebook filled with molecular structures, and my highlighters organized by color. Finals are coming up, and I needed every minute I could get to review. I'd been studying for about 2 hours when I heard heavy footsteps stomping up the stairs. The third floor is supposed to be the quiet study area, so I looked up, annoyed that someone was being so loud. That's when I saw her, a woman in her early 20s with bright red hair and an even brighter red face. She was scanning the floor like she was hunting for something, and when her eyes landed on me, she marched straight over to my table. "Karen, did you take my AirPods?" I looked up from my textbook, completely confused. "Me, excuse me?" "Karen, my AirPods, I know you took them. I was sitting at that table over there, and when I came back from the bathroom, they were gone. You're the only other person up here." I glanced around the floor. She was right, we were the only 2 people on the entire 3rd floor, but that didn't mean I had stolen anything. "Me, I haven't touched your AirPods. I've been sitting here studying this whole time." "Karen, don't lie to me. I saw you looking in my direction when I got up. You waited until I left, and then you took them." "Me, I barely noticed you were here. I'm trying to study for finals." She stepped closer to my table, and I could see she was getting more agitated by the second. "Karen, I paid $300 for those AirPods. If you don't give them back right now, I'm calling campus security." "Me, go ahead and call them. I don't have your AirPods." "Karen, fine. We'll see what they have to say about thieves in the library." She pulled out her phone and dialed campus security. While she was on the phone, I tried to go back to studying, but it was impossible to concentrate with her pacing around and speaking loudly about theft and dishonest students. 10 minutes later, 2 campus security officers arrived. They were both older guys who looked like they'd dealt with plenty of student drama over the years. "Officer 1, we got a call about missing property. What's the situation here?" "Karen, this student stole my AirPods. I left them on my table when I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, they were gone. He's the only other person who was up here." "Officer 2, and you haven't found your AirPods anywhere else?" "Karen, no, I've looked everywhere. I know he took them." The officer turned to me. "Officer 1, did you see any AirPods or take anything from this woman's table?" "Me, no sir. I've been sitting here studying the whole time. I never left my seat except to get a book from that shelf over there." Officer 2, all right, let's try to figure this out. "Ma'am, can you show us exactly where you were sitting and retrace your steps?" Karen led us over to a table about 15 feet away from mine. Her backpack was still there, along with some notebooks and a laptop. "Karen, I was sitting right here. I put my AirPods right here on the table next to my laptop. Then I got up to use the bathroom downstairs. When I came back, they were gone." Officer 1, and you checked your backpack? Your pockets? Karen, of course I checked. I'm not stupid. They were stolen. Officer 2, let's just double-check everything before we make any accusations. Can you empty out your backpack completely? Karen huffed, but started pulling things out of her bag. Books, pens, a water bottle, her wallet, some gum. No AirPods. Officer 1, check all your pockets too. She checked her jacket pockets, her jeans pockets, even her shoes. Still nothing. Officer 2, what about calling them from your phone? If they're connected, they should make a sound. Karen, fine, but this is pointless. I know he has them. She pulled up her phone and tapped something on the screen. Suddenly, we all heard it, the distinct chime that AirPods make when you're trying to locate them. But the sound wasn't coming from my direction. It wasn't coming from her table either. It was coming from Karen herself. We all stared at her as music started playing, muffled, but definitely audible. It was coming from inside her shirt. Officer 1, ma'am, the sound is coming from you. Karen looked down at herself, and her face somehow got even redder. She reached into her bra and pulled out both AirPods. Officer 2, so you put them in your bra and forgot about them. Karen, this is impossible. Someone must have put them there. He did something to mess with my mentally. This is all his fault somehow. She was pointing at me again, but now both officers were looking at her like she'd lost her mind. Officer 1. Ma'am, nobody else touched your AirPods. You put them there yourself and forgot about them. Karen. No, this doesn't make sense. I would never. I don't even. This is harassment. Officer 2. The only harassment here is you falsely accusing another student of theft. We're going to have to write you up for filing a false report and causing a disturbance in the library. Karen, you can't be serious. I'm the victim here. Officer 1. Ma'am, you need to calm down and come with us to fill out some paperwork. As they escorted her toward the stairs, she kept looking back at me with this bewildered expression, like she couldn't understand how her own AirPods had ended up in her bra. After they left, the library was finally quiet again. I sat back down at my table and tried to return to my organic chemistry, but I kept thinking about what had just happened. In my psychology classes, we'd studied false memory and how stress can affect perception, but I'd never seen such a dramatic example in real life. The whole incident lasted about 40 minutes, and I'd lost valuable study time, but I had to admit it was probably the most interesting thing that had happened to me all semester. I just hoped Karen learned something from the experience, though based on her reaction, I wasn't holding my breath.